Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar. My name's Simon. I'm going to be discussing the Velvit Lite range as well as a few other things with you today. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. The webinar will be recorded. You can watch back or send the link to colleagues, and it can be found on our website along with other webinars and blogs. I'm just going to start the presentation. As I said, today I'm going to be talking about the Velvit Lite range. I'm also going to run through a bit of a cost update about what's going on with raw materials, some more positive news than we've reported in the last few years, and then I'm going to run through what's new at GreenBest and how we're supporting Velvit customers. So as I said, Velvit Lite range. Going to discuss the design of these, how we've designed them to keep cost in mind, as well as maintaining our high quality. How do they compare against the current Nutrilong products? The raw material cost update. I'm going to run through three main raw materials we use: urea, DAP, diammonium phosphate, and MOP, which is muriate of potash or potassium chloride. And then discuss our Velvit customer support. So the Velvit Lite products, this is two new products that we've been selling since the start of the year, have been introduced into the Velvit Nutrilong V90 range. Benefits for Velvit distributors will be aimed at reducing your costs and increasing how competitive you are in the market for controlled release products. And for the Velvit end users, the people who are using the products, the greenkeepers, the groundsmen, the reduction in cost is going to help you get more out of your budget, continue to use high quality controlled release, and benefit from the results of it. The two new products you can see here: 1738, 2% magnesium, 6% calcium oxide, and 40% Nutrilong V90, which is our 3-month coated controlled release product. And that's in a 1 to 2 ml. Then we have the 1638, 2% magnesium, 5% calcium oxide. And again, that's 40% Nutrilong V90. And this one is a 2 to 3 ml. You can see the picture on the right here is a representative picture of the new products, and they'll look very similar to this. So how have we been able to keep the costs down on this? It's a very high quality blend. And so we're blending each individual granule you can see there as a different nutrient. So we blended controlled release nitrogen, which is Nutrilong V90, with standard release nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. All very uniform granule size. We process all this in-house. And we're very much in control of the milling and the sieving of the products, which helps us to maintain that sort of quality. AS versus urea, this is an interesting one. So in the past, we've always used ammonium sulfate, which is a 2100, so it's 21% nitrogen, versus urea, which is a 46% nitrogen. So it's over twice the percentage. And if you were using ammonium sulfate, you would need over twice the amount in the bag to reach that nitrogen value. And using ammonium sulfate means that you've got more active granules in a bag. And when you're blending fertilizers, this is important to give kind of consistent results and nice even coverage. With urea, you do need to use half as much. And previously, with the pricing of AS and urea, there wasn't too much of a difference using ammonium sulfate instead of urea, even though you needed twice the amount. Due to the huge changes in prices over the last few years, this has actually changed a little bit, and urea pricing coming down at the moment has made it much more cost effective to swap the ammonium sulfate out to urea. Because we have been blending 25 years almost, we understand what makes a good blend and understand what makes a bad blend. So although we're using urea instead of ammonium sulfate, which reduces the number of active granules in the product, we understand where the sort of limits are there. So we can continue to produce a very high quality product using just urea and controlled release nitrogen as the nitrogen sources here. Polyhalite, Many of you will know this product or ingredient. It's a potassium source, and it adds magnesium and calcium as well. So I went through the analysis earlier with the magnesium and calcium in these light products. They come from the polyhalites, and it's a very cost-effective material, very cheap material to add in, and can give lots of benefits. So we've added that in not only to add the magnesium and the calcium, which helps to give a nice green up and helps to strengthen the turf, but also because it's a really cost-effective nutrient to use. And lower levels of Nutrilong V90 than we would normally use. So a lot of our products, we like to use high percentages of controlled release, because this really helps you achieve the longevity that you require, whether it's 3 months or 6 months. But bringing that level of controlled release down helps us to keep costs down, because the manufacturing process to make controlled release adds a lot of cost to it. So by bringing this down to 40%, we've been able to bring the cost down, but also still give that kind of trickle of feed over the longevity, which for these two products in the Velvit Lite range, the Nutrilong V90, which is 3 months. So how do they actually compare against our current Velvit Nutrilong products, which you would all have known and used and seen before? So as I said, the Velvit Lite, which is the top picture here, you can see it's a full blend, so there's different granules in there, whereas the Velvit Nutrilong in the bottom picture is a partial blend, so it's a blend of two ingredients. That has helped us because blending having a full blend like shown in the Velvit Lite enables us to be more flexible with the nutrients, with the ingredients, and there's more ability to source it, and there's less cost in manufacturing. With the Velvit Nutrilong, this is a very high quality product, and is a controlled release nitrogen, the V90, blended with a homogeneous granule. It's a very high quality product, but that does increase the cost as well. So that's how we kind of kept the cost down on the Velvit Lite, making it full blend. So lower levels of the controlled release. I think from those two pictures, it's quite easy to see that there's a lot more controlled release in the Velvit Nutrilong products. You can see the green granules in there. The greeny blue granules are the coated urea, and you can see in the Velvit Nutrilong there's a lot more of those in the blend there. Urea versus AS, again, that's shown here with the Velvit Lite using a lot more urea, and the Nutrilong uses a combination of nitrogen sources in the homogeneous material. So that'd be a combination of ammonium sulfate, urea, and potentially some potassium nitrate in there as well. And then finally, touching on the polyhalite again, in the Velvit Nutrilong, the standard range, you're going to have potassium sources, which are potassium chloride and potassium sulfate, which are more costly than the polyhalite. And they also don't add in the magnesium and calcium. So some of the Velvit Nutrilong products will have magnesium in, but this will be from kieserite. So they will both provide a very good quality product and good results, but the Velvit Nutrilong will have a high percentage of the nitrogen that's controlled release, and therefore less of it up front. So with the Velvit Lite, you'll see within the first 4 to 6 weeks, 60% of the nitrogen is going to be fed to the turf. You're going to get green up and growth, and then a sustained release of the remaining 40% of the nitrogen. Whereas that's almost flipped with the Velvit Nutrilong. You get little up front, enough to continue to feed and to give a bit of green up and growth, but the nitrogen is more prolonged over the given time frame. Just on the application of the two products, so this top product, the 1738, is the 1 to 2 mil Velvit Lite. The breakdown of the nitrogen, that's going to be 60% from urea and 40% from V90, which works out about 6.8% nitrogen. And that brings me back to the urea versus ammonium sulfate side. So using urea instead of ammonium sulfate helps us to keep the costs down. Both of these have an application rate of 300 to 400 kilos a hectare, or 30 to 40 grams per square meter. For our standard release products, we generally say 250 to 350 kilos a hectare. V90, which these two are, we say 300 to 400. And then for V180, Nutrilong V180, our 6-month controlled release, we would say 350 to 450 kilos a hectare. I see a lot of application rates in the industry which are kind of starting at 500 kilos a hectare and going up to 700 kilos per hectare. But this is far too high, I believe, and not over applying fertilizers will be less environmentally damaging. And help you reduce your costs and potentially issues, because there are issues that arise from over application of fertilizers. You can lock up other nutrients. You can cause all sorts of issues for the turf. So the 1 to 2 mil tees, approaches, sports pitches, and the product below the 2 to 3 mil, the 1638. Fairways, tees, and sports pitches. You'll find some greenkeepers like to use a 1 to 2 mil on tees, and others aren't too bothered about the granule size. Don't ever use controlled release products, coated nitrogens, on very fine cut turf, golf greens and bowling greens. Because what can happen is the mower, when you're mowing it so short, it can pick up some of the granules. Not only are you wasting money by picking them up with the mowers, but also you can crack the coated nitrogen open, and that will cause catastrophic release, which will instantly release the nitrogen that's been broken open in that capsule, which can cause speckling. So that's why we don't apply controlled release products to greens. So both very good products will give very good results, and will hopefully give you guys the ability to continue applying good quality controlled release products within your budget when prices have increased so much. We sold a lot of these products since the start of the year, and they're proving very popular. There is an offer on at the moment as well that you can receive 5 free bags when ordering a ton of the Velvit Nutrilong Lite. So next section here I want to talk about is raw material pricing, and this has been a big topic for our industry because of the obvious things that have been going on. The prices rising very quickly. As I said at the start, there's 3 I want to talk about in a bit more detail. Firstly, urea, which is a 4600, 46% nitrogen, and this is a very, very commonly used ingredient and product in our industry, but also in agriculture as well. So past pricing, you can see right from the start of this graph in April 18 through to April 21 almost. Very, very stable pricing. Fluctuates a little bit, but very consistent over 2-3 years. That is very easy for us to predict pricing for our customers, to set pricing for long periods of time, because it is so stable. We are not going to have any shocks that will affect pricing too much. However, when we got into 2021, we started to see the price increasing, and then a massive spike as we come into 2022. So the COVID-19 pandemic did play a big role in prices increasing, and this was mainly due to supply chain issues, products not being where they should be, containers and ships not being where they should be. But then the biggest spike is due to the war in Ukraine, and this affected energy prices, as everyone knows, with their heating bills. But urea is very demanding on energy and natural gas, and so as soon as the prices for the energy and natural gas spiked, so did urea, and this caused a lot of problems in agriculture, in our industry, and because it is so volatile now, it's harder to forecast, it's harder to price for long periods of time, and therefore having to price at the moment for much shorter periods of time than we normally would like to. Prices have started to fall, as you can see in the graph. Still very volatile, there's still peaks and troughs, but general trend is downwards. And then future pricing and costs of raw materials. To be honest, anything can happen. We've seen how quickly prices can change over the last couple of years through geopolitics and supply chain issues. But at the moment, we are seeing them falling, and we believe they will continue to fall. But at a slower rate than they have been in the last 6 months to a year. Just touch on the increase in this price. The food inflation we've seen especially in the UK recently has partly been because of huge spikes in fertiliser pricing. And I can imagine towards the end of this year, between now and the end of the year, we'll start to see food inflation coming down. And that's partly because it takes time for the raw material costs to filter through right to the food prices, because food that's being sold at the moment is going to be grown using the higher cost urea, or the higher cost fertilizers. So as the cheaper material comes through, that will affect the whole supply chain and all the way onto the food that we buy at supermarkets and shops. So the next raw material, DAP, or diammonium phosphate. This is a 1846-0. So this is a 46% phosphorus source and is a very commonly used one, both for us at GreenBest, but in agriculture in the wider market as well. So it's a very similar picture to urea. You've seen very stable pricing in the past. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you can see prices starting to increase and increasing at a what looks like a slightly more controlled rate than the urea pricing, with an increase but less kind of peaks and troughs and less volatile. A big jump when you come into the start of 22 from the war in Ukraine. And then slowly prices have been coming down, and there's a lot of uncertainty built into pricing. So people will increase their prices if they're uncertain on what's happening in the supply chain, continuity of supply and things like that. And as we've progressed through this year, people have realized that the supply chain is a bit more resilient than they thought, and prices will start to come down. And we see this continuing. Again, it's so difficult to predict at the moment what is happening in the fertilizer world, but we see this coming down, still volatile, but falling. I think this will fall slower than urea has and will do. And that's partly because DAP is reliant on lots of different things, not just the price increases are not just caused by the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. So next we have MOP. So we can see again very, very stable pricing up until this one wasn't affected as much by the pandemic, but you can see early 2022, huge spike. So this increased from about £175 per ton all the way up to £425 in the space of 2 to 3 months. And that is primarily because of the war in Ukraine. Russia, Belarus, Ukraine are big producers of potassium sources. And so when Russia invaded, it sent a shock through the supply chain. People weren't sure if they'll be able to access the products. They would increase the amount they purchase. And that increase in demand causes an increase in the price. And also as supply reduced, that again increased the price. So really dramatic spike that we can see at the start of 22. That has started to come down, and we do see that continuing to come down over the course of this year. But with geopolitics playing such a heavy role in this one, it won't come down to 2021 levels. We can see it coming down and kind of flattening out above 2021 levels. Again, this will be slower than urea and DAP. So overall, it is good news. Prices are coming down, still volatile. They're still high in comparison to what they were 2019, 2020, but they are going in the right direction. And because we started pricing a lot more regularly, because the prices are so volatile, Velvit prices will continue to take really up-to-date costs, and that's real good benefit. Because prices are coming down, we're going to be kind of following that trend, and you guys will be able to get the benefits of the cost reductions that we see very, very quickly. So now I'm going to chat about Velvit customer support and what we're doing at GreenBest as well to help support our distributors, help support the end users. I'm going to start with education. So like this webinar, we've got lots of different webinars on our website that you can access. We do seminars at trade shows and with associations, and we write a lot of blog posts. There's blog posts on costs, what's happening with market prices, blog posts on new products that are coming out from GreenBest, and just industry news as well. We started GreenBest Academy, so this is going to be rolled out shortly, and firstly is going to be aimed at lawn care. So there's a lot of courses you can go on and do to do with soil science, understanding fertilizers, and really understanding what you're applying. After lawn care, this will be rolled out through Velvit and Florafeed and our other brands. It'll be really beneficial for distributors of Velvit products as well as end users. So there's lots of support and help there. Some of these, we're not pushing products through this, and we're not marketing the hell out of our products in this. So a lot of it is paid courses. They're not very expensive, but they are paid. But there are a lot of free courses you can go on and take advantage of as well. So pricing and supply chain. GreenBest has over 300 ingredients that we purchase and use in our products. So having a diverse range of suppliers not for all of those, but for the ingredients we use the most, has helped us to reduce costs, and it's also helped to reduce the supply chain risk. So we were very well stocked and had good supply throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and over the last few years. That's helped us maintain a good level of service, good level of supply to our customers. So research and development, this is a big part of what we do at GreenBest, because we are a bespoke manufacturer. We're constantly designing new products and constantly working with customers to bring them exactly what they need. One thing we do is try to identify trends in the market and design products to match this, design products to match or to solve problems that customers have in the industry. So there's a real focus on sustainability and improving the environmental aspect of fertilizers and our industry. We've started to develop a new organic range. This will be released towards the end of this year, and will feature plant-based organics. We have some already, but we want to develop that range into a more all-encompassing range. We use plant-based organics partly because there are different biosecurity laws in a lot of the countries we export to, so ensuring that we abide by those biosecurity and customs regulations is a lot easier with plant-based organics. But also, generally, plant-based organics are more environmentally friendly. If you were using animal, you would have to generally grow the food to feed the animal and then use that material, the waste product from there. There's often smells and a lot of dust with animal-based products as well. So we try to focus on not only what's more sustainable, but also what gives a high quality product. Flexible formulations. So a lot of you will know we can provide bespoke products, and we can really tailor what we manufacture for you guys. So not only can we play around with the NPK and manufacture what the NPK you need, we can actually adapt the nutrients we use. So like I said, with the ammonium sulfate and urea at the start of this, we can use different nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium sources depending on what you need, what your customer needs. And we can adapt this based on the country we're supplying to, so the different climatic conditions, also the different soil types, the cool and warm season grasses. So it's really endless, the kind of flexibility we can provide. And we can often provide lower cost products because of this. So a lot of the time people will be using a product because they like it, or there's nothing that fits exactly what they want or need. So we can provide products that match soil analysis. We can help you design a program based on a soil analysis that uses exactly the products or the ingredients and nutrients that you need, helping you to reduce costs and not apply fertilizers that are just going to be wasted or cause pollution or cause lockup of other nutrients. So it's a really valuable service that Velvit customers can take advantage of as well. Next one is more aimed at Velvit distributors, so marketing materials and marketing support, safety data sheets, brochures, trade shows. We can help with design work. We can help with giveaways and things like this. And it's really important. Just contact your account manager if you're not too sure who your account manager is. Just call us up or email, and the details will come up on the next slide. And we can discuss how we can help you and support the growth of your company and the marketing of Velvit products. Finally, sustainability. This is an area where we've been having a bit of a focus on. So we're currently monitoring our energy usage over all our manufacturing sites in real time. And we are analysing how we can reduce that energy usage. We're shifting over to electric forklifts. Over 50% of our forklift fleet are now electric. This obviously increases our energy usage, but it reduces the amount of diesel and biofuels that we need to use, which are generally a lot less environmentally friendly than the energy that's imported from the grid, depending obviously on where you get your energy from, whether it's green sources or any others. And then product formulations and technologies. We are having a focus on our research and development and our product pipeline. We have a focus on more sustainable products, more environmentally friendly products. And we are in the process of developing a what we call a formulator. So when we manufacture or write the recipe for fertilizers, we will put the analysis in, we will decide what nutrient sources we want this to come from, and it will tell us how many kilos of, for example, urea, of Nutrilong V90, of DAP, how many kilos of that ingredient we need per ton to make the product. So what we're looking to do is do that, but give a kind of relative figure for carbon footprint of that product. And that's something we've got a very basic version of now. And if you do want to hear more about that, please do contact us and contact your account manager to discuss. But as we move forward and make this more and more accurate, it'll be more and more user-friendly for our customers. So thank you very much for listening to this webinar. As I said, if you want to watch a replay or have come in halfway through or only been able to watch half it will be on our website. Or if you want to send it on to any of your customers, if you're a distributor or any of your employees or anything like this, please do. And our telephone number is there, as well as the email address, sales@greenbest.co.uk, if you've got any questions. Thank you very much.